So one of the things that we're really passionate about at our practice is debunking some of the myths that are there around seeing a psychologist, because we know how much these can get in the way of actually booking in an appointment. So we've created a little guide that essentially walks through some of those myths. So things like, if I speak about my emotions, will I end up feeling worse? Do psychologists spend all of their time talking about your childhood? There's some of the myths that come to mind, and in our guide we kind of chat through all of those, and we also talk about some practicalities around questions people have around seeing a psychologist in terms of Medicare rebates, how you book in, what to expect from the first session. So if you're keen to learn more about this, you can download our guide, or you can also have a listen to some of our little videos that unpack some of those myths. So another myth that can get in the way of people coming in to see a psychologist is feeling like speaking about their emotions is actually going to make them worse. I think this is a really understandable barrier to coming in, because if chatting about things is actually going to make them worse, why would you do it? Obviously everyone's different and different approaches work for different people, but the research tends to suggest that actually chatting about how we feel and what we're thinking does tend to turn the volume down on things. I guess this is for lots of different reasons. One of the reasons I think is that it can create a sense of clarity. It can kind of untangle some of the confusion we might be feeling. Sometimes chatting to a therapist can help you notice some solutions that might have been there to begin with anyway, but the process of talking it through with someone just shines a light on those solutions, can help you to come up with a way to solve problems. I think the other big thing about chatting with a psychologist is it can give you a different perspective on things, because psychologists are trained to help you to sort of see things from multiple angles. And then maybe one of the other factors, I think personally, is that chatting to someone can help you to feel a bit less alone in all of it. So getting it off your chest and just being able to say it out loud can be really healing. So I think one of the big assumptions about seeing a psychologist is that in order to come in to see a psychologist, you need to be going through something really difficult or to have a mental health issue. And of course that's a great reason to come in and see a psychologist, but we also see people for a whole range of reasons. So it might be working through a breakup, or moving to a new city, or having a career change. It could be a big shift in your life, like becoming a parent. And sometimes people will wait until those changes are actually happening to come in and see a psychologist. And then other times people will be quite proactive about it and actually come in ahead of time and try and map out how that might look and how they can take care of themselves as they navigate that change, and set up some really good habits around taking care of their mental and emotional well-being during that change. So I think one of the things that gets in the way of people coming to see a psychologist is wondering about how it's going to be any different to speaking to friends or family. And it's a really good question. So I think a psychologist can offer a perspective that is different to friends and family. So psychologists are trained to listen in a particular way. And because they're not a part of your personal life, they can actually kind of help you to see things from multiple angles and not necessarily have a vested interest in you going down this path or going down that path. And that can be quite freeing, being able to speak with someone about all the aspects of what's going on, and also knowing that you don't need to take care of the other person, that you don't need to check in with them and make sure they're okay. And that tends to be what we do when we're with friends and family. We'll, maybe we will confide in them and sort of allow them to support us, but then we feel that tendency to kind of reciprocate. With a psychologist, the space is just for you. It's a space for you to come and to reflect on what's going on. And I think that in and of itself can be a little bit uncomfortable at first, kind of coming into that space knowing it is just for you, especially if people have fears about feeling indulgent, devoting that time to themselves. But in the end, what I find is that by creating that space, people tend to be in a better position to take care of themselves and therefore take care of others. So one of the biggest barriers, I think, to booking in an appointment is not knowing what that process looks like. So at our practice, people can get in touch by picking up the phone, or they can also contact us via email. Whichever way they get in touch, we spend the first part of chatting, talking about why the person's coming in. So sometimes people aren't really sure why they're coming in, and our support team are there to help them unpack that a little bit and figure out what it is that they're wanting out of therapy. And then based on that, we'll make suggestions about who on our team might be a good fit, or perhaps someone externally